Whenever I meet people, I always encourage them to grow their own food organically. And it's really simple. People often say to me, but I don't have space. And the first thing I say is, start small. Even if you have a few pots on your windowsill and you have lettuce and radish growing in them, that's organic and it will give you a lot of nutrition, and they are the easiest crops to grow. So today, what we're going to show you is how small you can actually go. And you can have this garden anywhere. You can have it on a balcony, if you have a small yard, it's perfect. We've used a 9 square meter area, which is really tiny, but you can go even smaller than that. We've used these great lightweight metal containers, and actually any kind of container will work because anything can grow in the pot. What it has to depend on is the size of pot. Of course, organic compost is always important, good air, good water, and good sunlight. Your vegetables need 6 hours of sunlight a day. So when we're looking at where the sun sets and where the sun rises, that's an important way for us to tell how much sun our garden is going to get in the day. Early morning sun is great light for your garden. It helps them flourish, and it's kind of like a gentle light. Midday sun, that's when the sun is directly above you, is quite a harsh light. And afternoon sun, when the sun has moved to the west, that's a very harsh light. If your vegetable garden is exposed to more than 6 hours of light a day, and most of the light it gets is in the afternoon, in summer, it's a good idea to use some shade netting, and 35% shade netting is just perfect. In winter, you want as much sunlight as you can possibly get. That's one important aspect. Another thing to look out for is shadows. Where are the shadows falling from the trees around your little garden, or even neighboring walls? Or you can consider things like in winter, when your shadows are much longer, then will it actually affect your garden more than it would do in summer? So look out for your shadows. If your trees are deciduous, in other words, if they lose their leaves, then you don't have to worry about them being shadowed, your garden being shadowed in winter. But if they're not, be aware of that. Lastly is wind. Wind can be very, very damaging to your plants. What it does is it causes the plants to actually stunt because of the transpiration. In other words, plants have to suck up a lot of water so that they don't dry out around the leaves. And by doing that, when there's lots of wind, that happens so often that the plant's growth actually gets stunted. If that's the case, build yourself a little windbreak. Never make your windbreak solid. So using some kind of lattice fencing, or even if you use shade netting as a fence, then the wind can go through the holes and diffuse and be gentle on your plants. So what we've done in this little garden, which is only 9 square meters, is we started off on flat, hard, solid ground. So it's not even that we've got anything good to grow into. We've used these terrific lightweight metal pots, which you can move around yourself, obviously, before you put the soil in. And if your garden is smaller or your area is smaller, you can have one of these pots. So just to give you an idea of size, this long one over here, is 40 centimeters high. It's narrow, it's only 40 centimeters wide, and it's 1.2 meters long. And you can fit quite a lot of things in here. So if you wanted something bigger, obviously you could go for something like this pot behind me, which is 60 centimeters wide, 60 centimeters high, which is fantastic because it's great for citrus trees. So we're going to talk more about the soil, what it looks like, how to mix it, and we're going to fill up one of the pots and plant them up with Swiss chard. So let's go do that. What we have here are all the elements you'll need to fill up your pots and have your plants growing really healthily and strong. Of course, we use organic wherever we can, certified if we can get, and we've got some beautiful compost here, worm castings, vermiculite, and potting soil. The recipe is really simple. It's 2 parts compost, 2 parts potting soil, 2 parts vermiculite, and 1 part worm castings. That's a really, really good mix. So we've already got that mixture over here. We've pre-mixed it, and we're going to go fill up that pot. Just want to point out, you'll see I've got some old dying and dead leaves. This is absolute gold for mulch. And when we pot up our pot plant, we're going to show you exactly how to mulch. Let's go. So with these pots, you either get ones with a base or without a base. Irrespective, it's always important to put extra drainage. So make sure if you have ones with a base that there are drainage holes, sufficient drainage holes at the bottom. But irrespective, put your drainage stones at the bottom, and with big pots, a minimum of 6 centimeters will do. So we've prepared our pot, we've got our mix in here, and we've leveled the surface out. I never push down onto the soil because I like to keep it fluffy and light, full of oxygen. And now we're going to plant it up with some Swiss chard, which is really good for you. It's an all-season crop, so it grows throughout the year, and it's very handy for anything, stews, juicing, whatever you like. You also get different colored leaves, which are great and will look really pretty in this pot. So I plant one at a time. And the reason I do that is because every hole that I dig, I water the hole first so that the seedling roots can be in touch with the water immediately. This prevents transplant shock, and it also keeps your seedlings standing perfectly upright without them falling over for a few hours or a day. So let's finish this up. I'm leaving about a 20 centimeter space between each plant, and that should give them a fair distance and space to grow happily and healthily and give us lots of wonderful big leaves. Always remember to mulch. So the very important thing about mulch is that it keeps your soil warm, protected, so that hard rain or high evaporation from sunlight doesn't start destroying your soil, and it doesn't start, sucking all the water out of the soil. If you've got a layer of mulch, it really keeps a lot of the moisture in the soil, which is fabulous. We use about 6 centimeters minimum of mulch, and in a few weeks' time, this mulch is going to be totally degraded, taken down into the soil by worms and other little creatures and broken down, and you have to replenish it. So keep your eye out for that. Dead leaves are a fantastic mulch. We've collected so many, and we also use straw. The thing about straw is sometimes you get a lot of seeds in the straw, so you have to be vigilant about weeding. But when there's lots of dead leaves around, it's a great opportunity to rake them up if you're not going to leave them in the garden, or use what your neighbors aren't using, and keep them in bags and use them in your gardens as much as you possibly can. There you go. We're going to put our label in here for our Swiss chard, and finally what we're going to do is we're going to put our drip watering system. If you don't have access to water close by to your garden, or you're going away, it's really handy to have something like this, because it will probably water your garden for up to a week. Depends on the weather. If it's very, very hot and there's lots of evaporation, you'd have to fill up this vessel more often, but otherwise it should last a week. Also, if your crops are really thirsty, it also can use a lot of water. When it comes to watering, it's really important not to water in the midday. And I'd say anything from 11 to about 3:30 in the afternoon, when the sun is really harsh. What will happen if you water your plants during that time is, if any water spills on your leaves, the plant's leaves will just get burnt by the sun, and there'll be such high evaporation that your plants actually won't get a lot of that water. So be mindful of that. It's better to water in the mornings, and of course be mindful of saving water. So put that mulch in, get a system like this where you don't have to worry, and it's drip irrigation, so it really does magic. When the drips of water go slowly into the soil with about a 40 centimeter capillary action, so it reaches about 40 centimeters around the actual drip. Let's fill that up. There you have it, a 9 square meter garden in the middle of the city. Got enough vegetables here to last us quite some time, and we can't wait for the next season where we plant a whole lot more delicious organic vegetables.